Hey guys, it's Matt. Yesterday, instead of pursuing Black Friday shopping deals, which they now call doorbusters in the United States, I decided to stay home and proof, with slight revisions, the last section of the book, which is all of reality explained in about an hour and a summary of everything that came before in the prior 200 pages. Now, if I said this came all from me, I'd be some sort of asshole, and you should run away. This is the amalgamation or culmination of everything I've worked on, but everything people like you have shared with me. Hundreds of people have shared insights over the last 15 years as to how this reality works. This is from me, but it's also from all of you. Every single comment, every single email. And because this is Small Business Saturday and you're eager to get out there shopping again, I'll begin the summary of all of reality and your place in it immediately. What you know of as you here on Earth is just a small aspect of a greater you, which can only be described as part of you that's not here. Imagine a dream you may have had recently, say you walking alone along a beach. Is the consciousness of the dream character you? Yes, of course it is. But that consciousness is an aspect of something bigger, isn't it? There's something the character in the dream is unaware of. Somebody sleeping in a bed. Well, you here in the waking world are unaware of the other part too. It has to be that way. You must be ignorant of it, or this experience wouldn't work. It is intentional that we are born without knowing who we really are. If we understood what we were, there'd be no value in the Earth experience. The notion that consciousness is solely derived from a pile of mashed potatoes that sits in the human skull or from anything physical of this place is ridiculous. However, it must seem like all your thinking comes from the brain while we're alive, or again, nothing here in this place works. This earth, first and foremost, must be believed in. And for that to happen, we must be intentionally fooled to think that we are something that we are not. That's okay. It's just fine that we were fooled. It's how this game is played. You, or an aspect of you that some call higher self, agreed to come here before birth, to have an experience. You existed before birth, so you will continue to exist after death. It's that simple. In my opinion, you don't need no billion-dollar religious middleman to win here. The more money that passes through it, the farther from God it is. On the other side, science is just as wrong. The notion that the universe was derived from an explosion from deep space and your existence is a random phenomenon is the stupidest horse shit ever put forth. If we came from monkeys, why didn't the monkeys advance? The original monkeys should, at least by now, be riding horses and working a rudimentary agrarian society, right? This place is not physical in the way that it appears to be. It's a fluid illusion, and its very purpose is to play a trick on you. That's okay. You signed up to get tricked, at least for a while. Existence is likely many layers of self-awareness. What you know of as you is simply the part of the whole that is able to step off the elevator at a certain floor called Earth. Let's go back to the dream character for a moment. At night, you exist in a dream, believing while inside the dream, that character is all you are. In the dream consciousness, there is no understanding of the next layer up, a person sleeping in a bed. The dream at night is just a certain level of self-awareness. This, the waking world, is yet another level of self-awareness. It is very likely that death brings the next layer of self-awareness, and so on, and so on. Why do so many people consider what awaits at death the final resting place or final train stop? Why would just one step up be a single place for all of eternity? Does that make any sense? An eternity of golden streets is there to reward somebody for 85 years lived well in this ghetto? The 80 or so years people may be lucky enough to live here, when compared to all that there is or ever will be, is 1/1 billionth of a millisecond. Isn't it more logical that death would simply be the next step with a lot more steps to come? The dream at night is an expression of this, a hint to us. Everyone understands how the dream self relates to the conscious self of the waking world. Once you wake up, everything is put into perspective, and then you get your eggs. Why wouldn't you now have a similar relationship with the part of you that exists after death, which, just like you sleeping in the bed, exists right now? As we all know, for thousands of years through today, death has been seen and presented as the final destination for all of eternity. Talk about short-sighted. It's far more likely there are many more layers. The ratio of the increase in clarity from one level to another may be similar with each jump. Looking back, the dream world, your dream last night, it seems kind of blurry, right? Seems a little bit vague to our waking perception. The earth may seem the same to us after death, even though it seems clear now as you look out your window. The acuity of your eyes now and how clear this all seems may be rather vague compared to the next level up, and so on, moving through additional levels of clarity and, more importantly, additional layers of understanding. The dream character is ignorant of the person in the bed, but you, one layer up, can put it all in proper context, especially when you wake up from the dream. You can't see the next layer up now, just as the dream character cannot see you in the bed. The next level, after death, looking back at Earth, may be the same relationship, the same ratio. Relay your experiences in great detail to the next layer of you above this one. Declare that your memories are yours. For as some suggest here in our community, there may be something here that would like to steal your memories. If reality is a fractal, no one could know how many levels await us next. Perhaps 10 more, perhaps 1 billion. It matters not. Since there is no time and we are timeless, we have plenty of time. Why did we incarnate on Earth? Well, why does anybody go anywhere? To have an experience they can't have in the place from which they came, or to get something done. Why does anybody go anywhere? There are likely many things that happen here that are completely unique and don't exist where you came from. The roller coaster ride of emotions in the body, I sense, are unique to this place. Relish every one that comes to you, and even those considered bad. Take what this place has to offer and experience all of it fully as a representative or ambassador for the whole of you. Appreciate what is unique to this place with awe and wonder. But what have we been trained to do? To complain.
I don't want to take out the trash. Oh, Tom and his fucking in-laws are coming for Christmas. Ah, shit. That makes the Griswold Christmas look relaxing.
Remember the line from Troy. The gods envy us while we're here having this experience. The good and the bad. But the truthers cry out,
"Oh, this is hell. Oh, this is hell. Prison planet.
Enough of that horse shit. To me, a main goal behind the design of this place is so spirits can experience certain types of loss and the emotional highs and lows that can probably only come from inhabiting a body in a material world. Spiritual clues have been embedded in all sorts of different types of art, as we've discussed, going back hundreds or even thousands of years, from the Renaissance works to modern-day horseshit songs like
Living in a material world.
and Sting, we are spirits in the material world, are spirits. It's all over the place. The clues here, if this was such a prison planet, what are all the clues for?
Living in a
Forget that. A material world may be very new to the likes of you. Appreciate all the emotions from a third-person perspective. The jealousy I feel right now, the rage, isn't this interesting, the way I'm feeling now? Look at yourself from a third-party perspective, as an ambassador of the element or the whole of you that's not here. These emotions likely do not exist in the same way after death or what we were or will become. There should be equal wonder in the bad days as well as the good. I sense our higher self, I don't like that term, wants to experience all of it and doesn't much care if you experience emotional pain or other types of pain in this earthly place. It wants to suck it all up. You're here to take one for the team, my friends. In fact, it may need the bad experiences even more than the good. Yes, in a way, you are taking one for the team because this life is hardcore pipe hitting. In great battles, somebody had to be first over the wall. That's your ass now. That's my ass. Because there is so much negative in this place, the first grade truth researcher does nothing other than yell out, "The reality has been hijacked!" They don't consider these very aspects are part of its original design, and they certainly never see that the heaven here is always intermixed with the hell. It's what you decide to focus on. No, it has not been hijacked. It's a tough experience, but it's what was intended. It's what you signed up for. You're first over the wall. Relish the unique and wondrous experiences here, for there are many. Unfortunately, we become habituated to them all as part of the daily grind. So as the days pass by, there are few memories that stand out. This reality, or the dark part of it at least, is designed to trip you up, to create the monotony, even in its placement of holidays across the calendar, so everything blends and nothing is remembered. Part 2, the work, after we've seen through the trick, is hard work. You can make the most boring and menial aspect of life as amazing as you want to. It's all up to you. Everything here is up to us, yet we are meant to believe we're victims of some kind. You can smash a spider web with a broom and say, "Fucking spiders, tired of it." Or you can study the spider and its web, sitting in the middle, waiting for an insect to come by. You can study it for 20 minutes and create an experience for yourself about 1,000 times better than any program that ever came on TV. I sense that the incredible joy of music is something that can't quite be replicated outside of this place, as it floods the emotions up through the body, through the physical. There are wonders in the physical likely we can't get where we came from or maybe where we'll go. Appreciate them while you're here. Thousands of experiences here should be seen as unique and rare, but almost all of them are overlooked by people because they have no comparison point from the place in which they came. Is walking an incredible experience to most people? People are, no, that ain't shit. Well, what about to the man who, through some sort of miracle, begins to walk who has never walked before? Is walking a little bit different from his or her perspective? Everything here is taken for granted because it's all we've ever known. It ain't shit, that's all. I've been able to do that since I was a little kid. Well, you can break that attitude. Simply write it on a 3x5 card and carry it around with you. In bold lettering, how many experiences will I have today that I could not get where I came from before birth and will no longer be able to get where I'm going after death? Perspective is everything here, and the proper perspective is hard work. Now, I don't think we can go too far in this exercise, but maybe be a little careful in how you go about it. You're sitting in Starbucks, drinking your coffee, saying, "This experience is unique to this place." And the guy next to you says, "I notice you're really enjoying that cup of coffee. Is there a new mochaccino or something I'm not aware of?" And you say back, "No, you see, I'm savoring it because I couldn't get this before I was born. I realize that even the experience of sipping this coffee is unique to this place, and I won't be able to get it after I'm dead." Now, do you want to talk further? Guys, sorry I mentioned it, dude. I guess it's possible we could take it too far, but most of us will have a hard time taking it far enough. Perhaps the greatest experience to be derived here is the ability, for the very first time, to experience one's own mortality, to get a sense of what the final end of existence actually feels like. That's something we probably couldn't possibly comprehend before we came here. Death, or the end of existence, is likely a very foreign concept to a spirit like you. Only this place can truly express what the end of being feels like because it dangles that in front of us every day before all else. In the spiritual realm from where you came, there are probably no classes on death, no book learning that can accurately paint a picture about what the end of one's existence could feel like. It must be experienced here on earth, and even feared, at least for a little while. Such an understanding is impossible without the experience itself, which is what you're going through right now in life. Book learning on mortality is as useless as buying a book promising 3 easy steps to falling in love by the end of this week. Many things must be experienced, cannot be taught or read about. The potential end of existence is one of these. Not that it really ends for us, just the notion that it's possible is unique. The ancient holiday of Saturnalia offered a temporary reversal of roles between the peasants and their lords. On the 12th day of Christmas, the Duke of Cambridge dressed up like a girl, and I pretended he was my sister. At least for those 12 days, he was my sister. Why is Saturnalia a massive Humpty Dumpty carried right through today's Christmas? Today's Christmas is Saturnalia, but we'll talk about that some other time. Humpty Dumptys tell us something important, don't they? This life is likely your role reversal. You are a great spirit playing the role of something low that wants to whack itself off every day. Death could simply mean the end of our role reversal, and our own version of Saturnalia ends. Remember, even the painful emotions and experiences here may be coveted by what's called higher self. During Saturnalia, the peasants loved pretending to be the lords, of course, but guess what? It is said that the dukes and earls and dukes of Earl also enjoyed playing their role as peasants. That's what you're likely doing here right now, playing the lower role of a peasant. When you're a great spirit, everything here is the opposite. It's the rule of opposites. Here in this place, a lower entity, like Bill Gates, is on top here. That's his role play. He's the peasant playing the Lord. It's all opposite here. There is likely good reason these creeps love Saturnalia, for this place has allowed them to crawl out from under their rock for a time being and pretend to rule. In this place, you, the higher being, believe every bit of what this life says you are. The masses act out Saturnalia each day, believing their temporary role as of peasant is all that there is, and that it's permanent. The trick of this place is highly successful and also necessary, at least for a while. We have grown out of it. Most on the ship of fools have not and likely will not. Do you consider the act of waking up in the morning to be the death of your dream self? Of course not. This waking world to the next level, via what they call death, is almost assuredly not much different. Do you cry for days after you wake up in your bed, realizing you have sentenced your dream self to death by way of a buzzing alarm clock? Do you call into work asking how many days can be taken off for bereavement? For your dream self. Of course, that's ridiculous. But apply that to what you will be at death looking back at your time on Earth. I don't think it's much different. When you wake up in the morning in your bed, it all makes sense. You put it in the proper perspective. Oh, I wasn't really being chased by that pack of dogs. It was a dream. You don't mourn the loss of that level of consciousness. Don't mourn the loss of your dream self. Yet, in a way, that is quite literally you in another reality. You will likely look back on this life in the same way you view a dream now, after death, in my opinion. An interesting experience this life on Earth was, even fascinating, but no big deal once it's all put into context, into the proper perspective of the next layer up, looking down. People like telling other people about the dreams they had last night, don't they? Think about it. Why do they enjoy telling others about their dreams so much? It bores the shit out of the people listening to the story, doesn't it? You'll probably do the same thing talking about Earth after death. Hey, Charlie, come here. I want to tell you about what happened to me once on Earth. Oh, not that shit again. I don't want to hear any more about that stuff on Earth. We've all been through it. Leave it alone, you son of a beach. In order for this experience to succeed in what it was designed for, this reality must be fully believed in. Death must loom over us our entire lives, whispering to us that it may bring the end of all of existence. Yes, for the life experience to work, that concept, the final end, must seem like a real possibility. It must even be feared, at least for a while, for this life to do what it was designed to do for you. But, Matt, it says on the internet, it's a prison planet. We are trapped, or something like. No, we're not trapped. We help create this reality, so if they can get you to believe all those horrible things and that you're actually trapped, you probably manifest that on yourself. But more about that later. It is necessary to come in here, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. We can know nothing about our true selves, or nothing works here. There would be no lesson if we knew exactly who we were. It's idiotic to declare this place a prison planet simply because we have no recollection of our past. What does one have to do with the other? Once again, The Wizard of Oz shows itself to be the biggest truth drop movie of all time. Dorothy had to fully immerse herself and believe in the experience of Oz for her to gain new perspective and appreciation for when she returned back to the other reality in Kansas. She went from hating that life and trying to run away to being very appreciative simply because of the experience in between before she returned to the farm. This experience may do the same for the aspect of you that's not here. Perhaps the greatest answer to the meaning of life is for one to simply realize that life has meaning. You are here for a reason, and no book can tell you what that reason is, nor could you learn about it in a classroom before you incarnated. The yellow breadcrumbs of conspiracy are placed before you by the dark part of reality, so you never find what you're looking for. What's going on here is not the plot of secret societies, although they do play a role. It is the trick of reality itself at the metaphysical level. There are different types of spiritual entities here on Earth. Let me repeat that. Everything or everyone here is not the same as you. One group, a particularly nasty ilk, is trying to block you from completing your mission. They want to keep you in Bono's, that villain's perpetual, and I still haven't found what I'm looking for because I'm chasing the conspiracy bullshit. They should add that, Bono, add that shit in. The role of these creeps is nothing more than that, a role. It was placed into this reality to try to trip you up. It perfects its craft century after century. It wins if it can get you to believe that you are what it says you are. Once again, the rule of opposites applies when it comes to the dark reality's presentation of what this reality is and what your place in it is. If science tells you that you are an anomaly of the Big Bang, then you know you're the opposite of that. If Darwin says the chances of you sitting here right now is 1 in trillions based on your monkey man lineage, then you know the opposite's true. The chances of you sitting where you are right now is 1 to 1 or 100%. And it was entirely meant to be, the exact opposite of what science tells us. The astronomical probabilities given to us by science relating to our existence are so absurd, it gives the trick of reality away by itself. Everything presented by your spiritual adversary is the rule of opposites. In fact, we want it talking about us as low things. We want that sort of talk because it confirms we're the opposite. To play in any game, one needs an opponent or an opposing team to compete against, and the opposition must be competent, or there's no point in playing. The Wicked Witch of the West, WWW by the way, was competent. It certainly wasn't easy for Dorothy and Oz. This reality needs a bad guy, and there are many here playing their roles on behalf of what I call Not Milk, the outer ring of reality or the screen. They're here to block you from your authentic path and to convince you that you're Humpty Dumpty, needing the king's horses and the king's men to put you back together. You don't look for that answer yourself. Go to the authorities. Go to the experts at the universities. Those assholes know. If there's a spiritual triumph or win to be had here from playing this game, then there has to be a force or team on the other side of the field whose job it is to play against you. Its goal is simple, to get in your way, to hide you from who you really are, and cover up our reason for coming here, for incarnating. If you can overcome it, then you have a chance of winning in part 2. The trick needs to be overcome. That's part 1. Then you do the worry about yourself activities in part 2, the work. It is not overcome by fighting back or fighting against it. It's overcome by walking away from it and knowing that you're much bigger than it. Do you try to fight the ants in your backyard? That's basically what we're talking about here. By being who you really are instead of acting out the role it has given you. You win by worrying about yourself. What about yourself? And doing what the whole of you needs to do in life to get the most out of this unique and wonderful experience. I assure you, Tartaria research is not a factor in all of this. The creepy thing on the other side of the tennis net is nothing to fear. It's supposed to be here. Our opponent is a big-time asshole, but it's a role player, baked into reality's original design. As Bane said to Batman, necessarily evil. It's necessary evil. For Luke to win, an empire needs to be overcome and a Death Star destroyed. A movie needs an exciting ending. We're not here to coordinate an X-Wing mission against the screen, flying Donald Trump flags welded to our hyperdrives. It's a master at pissing you off. An all-out assault against it is what it wants out of you. It plays truthers. It's played all of us for centuries. It's time to stop being played and used. If you lower yourself to its standards, it wins. Star Wars wouldn't quite be the same fun movie with Luke just chopping wood and carrying water on Tatooine for 2 hours. Hey, when's the action going to start? If all Luke was doing was carrying water, worrying about himself, that wouldn't make much of a movie. But you and I, are not here to entertain an audience, are we? Those who are the creepy minions here are almost certainly not the same spiritual entity that you are. Tony described them as sequential incarnations that have a different relationship with their higher self than you do. They're not as spiritually advanced as you and I are, and they're playing it safe, game addicted, not willing to take the spiritual leap that you and I did to be Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. Because the most courageous act is for a spirit like yourself to go into a place where it is meant to forget who it really is. Tony described it as potentially the most courageous and hardcore act in the known universe in all existence. Congratulate yourself every day for doing it. These creeps know who they are far more than you do. As I said, Tony said, a different relationship with their higher self, potentially remembering past lives, knowing a bit about their role to block you. In a way, they're like the entities in the movie Poltergeist, hovering around Carol Ann to a degree, unwilling to move on, as was described in the movie. What they are is represented in lots of different ways in works of fiction, from the strangers in Dark City to the reality coordinators in a movie like The Adjustment Bureau. The adversary of real spirits here, which I call Notnilk, has been a worthy opponent for centuries. This adversary is not something that can be picked out of a police lineup. There is no final boss level here to overcome or beat. The Notnilk is more of a frequency and one's personal choices, linked to, say, a radio station beaming over the ship of fools and those that decide to get off of it. It's simply about which frequency people willingly choose to tune to while they're alive. Our adversary's role is quite simple: to craft a trick that blocks real spirits from doing what they're supposed to do here. The Ship of Fools is Robert Frost's The Road Most Traveled. It starts with fooling real spirits concerning who they really are and what they should believe is important in life. For example, if someone has been awarded the key to the city, then that person has been a massive loser. The rule of opposites always applies. It has successfully created a Western world that has become an instruction manual on how a real spirit should give away its power. Most people serve the trick of this reality with their hands out, begging for more of it and for more rewards. They do not realize they're larger than this place, and certain things need to be done by them and experienced here to complete, say, their mission. Do most people follow a private, personal path? Or do they race to keep up with the Joneses, battling for social media fame? Yes, we, you and me, a tiny minority who have become incompatible with this reality. And that's the best news of all time. To be fully compatible with it is to be firmly affixed on the Ship of Fools. Who the heck would want to be compatible with what this out our window has become? Therefore, from the perspective of your friends and family, we are as strange as they say we are. If we are said to be loons for what we believe, then they would be right. Reality's metrics and standards of what is considered normal are their standards, not ours. We're affixed to a reality or something that's long gone. What tastes good to a dolphin can only be judged by a dolphin. What's normal, per the metrics and standards of this reality, can only be judged by someone on the Ship of Fools, not somebody who's trying to get away from it like us. Overcoming the Notnilk can be done if two general things happen. Number one, the general trick of reality is seen, and one moves to detach from it. What specific parts are the trick, Matt? Essentially, all of it is the trick. Anything that comes from authority, from the experts, from government, with a few exceptions, like a poster, say, that is put up in an elementary school that says, "Eat your broccoli." That might be real. Everything else is not. Most of us listening to this have achieved part one. We saw through the trick a long time ago. So what is part two? The work. The second thing we must do to overcome not milk. The breadcrumbs and enticement of conspiracy are left behind, and one focuses on the worry about yourself activities, the work. That is simply getting in touch with why you are here. Why did you come here? That does not mean some grand calling to make sure you make a name for yourself in this world, like establishing 80 homeless shelters throughout the New England region. If you can do that, that's great. But that is not part two, the work. Most of us care nothing about leaving a name for ourselves. We care nothing about being remembered. Part two, the work, can be as simple as walking by a piece of trash and turning around after 5 more paces to go back and get it. Noticing that you are not the person you were 20 years ago. Not the picking up of trash by itself, but noticing what you have evolved into, your new resonance or frequency. You're changing in every way. You're dissociating with the radio station of this world. There's no exact playbook to do that. Maybe it is picking up a piece of trash or tens of thousands of other things that are personal to you. There's no finish line or exact ending. There is no judge other than yourself. Look around at the world today. Unfortunately, most people have fallen for every bit of the deception that the not milk churns out. People sit in their bathtub believing that what is under the bubbles is all they are, and to many, all they ever will be. They fire their rubber duckies against tile walls in complaint of all the bad guys the screen has intentionally put forth to ruin their lives.
Oh, damn Republicans.
Among the masses, the spiritual aspect of them is no longer in balance with the physical side. Actually, the not milk teaches that the spiritual side of them doesn't even exist. People don't even look for it. To them, you are not Superman, you are Monkey Man. Our job in the few short decades or years that we have left is to shed the false self that this life has crafted. I've called this act cutting Jacob Marley chains. Put more simply, to use this life correctly to benefit our spiritual whole and the reason that our higher self sent us here, if you believe that. Humpty Dumpty can only put himself back together. I know you believe that. The king's horses and the king's men are horse shit. He must reject the help of the king's horses and the king's men, which is the authority and the experts in this world and governments. If your dream self may be one level down, then what do you think the next higher level up wants from you on earth? Well, get up and go do it. How many people throughout all of history have ever thought about such a thing? What the next layer up wants and needs from you right now? Nike's "just do it" is a choice. Why are you here? Perhaps higher self wants more mudflood research and examination of architecture. I doubt it, but maybe. Does it want another Madame Blavatsky New York Times bestseller to read? I don't think that either. Should we devote ourselves to the works of Hegel, Kant, and Aristotle for many years? See how absurd certain pursuits become when put in this larger framework? Our spiritual opponent is not the George Bush creatures running around on the ground, showing up in government and other places of authority, but rather is part of reality itself. It manifests into the physical world in many different ways, including minions. But those people, or whatever they are, executing what Not Milk wants, they're simply on the download or frequency of it. They are Not Milk in and of itself. Not Milk is not a bad guy that can be picked out of a police lineup. It's similar to how Morpheus first described the Matrix to Neo. Said, you can feel it when you turn on your television or when you pay your taxes. You can feel this thing is out there to be your spiritual adversary. If it pops up in your face as a bad guy, that's not it. That thing works for it. Our community has put forth thousands of different variations of what Morpheus said in the movie. You can feel it when you hear Elon Musk talk about a roadster in space. You can feel it when Taylor Swift dances behind the glass at the Super Bowl. You can see it on Election Day, or when LeBron James does his talcum powder ritual and times 1,000 or 10,000 more. To people like us who are off the ship of fools, the presentation of the outer ring or screen has a disturbing feel to it. Its Pied Piper song is not on our frequency any longer. The Not Milk is an expert at working through people who are on its radio station to have them shape the world the way it wants, the way the Borg on the Enterprise immediately reset the temperature and humidity controls. There's an army of assholes out there that I call minions that spend their entire lives assisting the Trick, but they know not what they do. They're not in on it with knowledge of how this reality works at the metaphysical level. They're useful idiots. And there's millions of them at this moment. Right now in history, almost all of Western society and culture works for it. Let me repeat that. In some way, at this moment in history, almost all of Western society and culture, some way works for it. Of course, they're not getting secret orders. They know not what they do. The way they live their lives is contributing to what it wants. The people around us are churning out complicated systems and university science and massive governments and big religion. It shapes society as the decades go by in such a way so the spiritual goals of real people become harder to achieve. Or in general, people have no idea what they should be doing. Our adversary has been a very worthy opponent. It's a limbo bar that's been pushed 1 inch off the ground for most people. It says, how low can you go? And in a way, that's literal. And then people try to go under the bar like idiots. However, for those that have taken to the lifeboats and, like us, dived off the back of the ship of fools, the goals are, in fact, easier to achieve once all the fog has been lifted. To those off the ship, its presentation, the Not Milk's presentation, has now broken down as comical. It has evolved into an absolute clown show that we see right through, but incredibly nobody on the ship of fools even notices it. Almost everything prominent in society and culture is designed to aid its trick. Everything important, or that the news tells you should focus on, or what comes out from an authority figure as being important, everything along those lines is designed to aid its trick against real spiritual beings. And it's always the same sentence. Its trick is designed to hide a real spirit from knowing itself. If you don't know what you truly are, then you cannot use this place for what it's intended for. It always comes back to the same sentence. The understanding that a trick is being played allows a real being like you and me to do then, in part two, the work, what it's supposed to do in life. Wait a second. There's a trick being played here. Oh, I see through it, so therefore I'm going to do what it doesn't want me to do. It's that simple. Our job is to remember. Its job is to have us remain forgetful. Our goal is to become lucid. Its goal is to set up more fog machines. It always does the opposite of what we should be doing for ourselves. Its main tactic is to get a real person to believe this place is of the utmost importance, as is collecting up its rewards. If you are very proud of an award it has given you, with the Oscar, say, being the worst of the lot, then you've lost. Now, Tony, in a sense, disagrees with this and says all the various incarnations, of which there could be hundreds or thousands of simultaneous incarnations of higher self, all of it helps the higher self learn, Matt. Even the asshole incarnations, the higher self can learn from you, and it can learn from an asshole. Your higher self, according to Tony, could have an Alec Baldwin, some jerk, on a material plane right now. Now, I don't feel that that's entirely correct, and I have my reasons for that. But what does it matter? One thing is assured. We want to do our part, if there is a whole of us or a larger part. We're here right now to do our part. Why not do our best? We know ourselves at this point, and our part in assisting the whole of us. We will assist the spiritual whole of us. At least most of us are very eager to do that, if you're listening to the words coming out of my mouth, if we walk the true path and do the opposite of what Not Milk wants for us. I see, as you do, through every aspect of this trick at this point. That is your role for the type of being you are, to see through the trick, then do what the whole of you needs to be done. It's that simple. I believe our type of incarnation, if Tody's right about the various and multiple simultaneous incarnations, our type is rare. Look around at the others in Walmart. The higher self maybe can incarnate a stockbroker somewhere into a material world anytime it wants, and maybe it learns something from that. But it may be an entity like you and I that is meant to do the hardcore things that are necessary to finally end this game for good. The Not-Nilk has convinced almost everyone that personal fulfillment can only come through its good graces. Most people in the Ship of Fools fully comply and chase its carrots and social standing. To them, there is no spiritual arm at all on their Vitruvian man. If higher self can learn from an incarnation of, say, a pimp, well, that's great. But again, I believe the role of people like you and me, our particular type of incarnation, may be very rare. Let's take advantage of our unique situation we're in. Our level of perception is not held by others. It's not held by most, even in our own truth community, that chase folly and bullshit conspiracy yellow breadcrumbs. Once you realize that you are large and this place is small by comparison, the consequences of everyday life, and even the notion of death, lose their bite. 90% of the worry and stress of everything should go away. The Not-Nilk wins by getting people to define themselves through only the parts of themselves spawned from this place, such as body, ego, etc. Its ruse is structured so you continuously look to attach to its society, make contract with it, and seek more of its rewards. It fools you into thinking you can only progress through it and by its good graces. If you define your life by the screen's standards of success, it has won. Saying it won means you have spent life serving its aims and not serving the reasons that you incarnated here in the first place. It tempts you to look outside yourself for life's biggest answers. It presents a never-ending bog of distraction, magically customized to each player in this game to get your maximum attention, as it puts forth the conspiracy that most interests each type of person in our community. No real world could do that. It operates supernaturally in a way that is impossible for any world that spawned from a big bang to do. For a group about to wake up, it's a conspiracy generation machine. If Tony's right and higher self can learn from all the different types of incarnations, even complete fuck-ups like city mayors, then why is the Not-Nilk working so hard on our type of incarnation? Even inside our own truth community, we're a little tiny group. It works overtime on us to never become the type of person that we are meant to be. How hard it works on us is the greatest news of all time. If we weren't so important and powerful, it wouldn't be working so hard. Again, the worst thing of all time would be if it just left us alone. If the higher self can learn from every different type of incarnation, then why is the adversary very organized against a certain group of people like us? And I know the naysayers. Oh, you people think you're so special, and it's worried about you. But I didn't say it was worried. It strategizes. Look at the conspiracy maps. All the different breadcrumbs it's laid for us is 1,000 times more than what it does for somebody just satisfied going home, taking drugs, and watching the Oscars. There's no doubt about this. It's working overtime. It's getting up every day in our business. Why is it doing this if we potentially are not different? Well, you know what? Whether there's 1,000 different incarnations, the higher self can learn from all the different ones. Who cares? What you're here to do is, and what I'm here to do is unique. If there's a whole of us that's not here or a higher self, let's do what we need to do if we truly want to exit this game. It's our incarnation that will provide the final little tidbit potentially necessary to end this for good. Physical is the illusion of this place. Mars can never be landed on. The minions know it, and they understand far more about reality than the scientists are allowed to ever know. This is a fluid reality of sorts. The Mandela effect is very real, and for some reason, what we call changes can now be noticed, where in the past, in my opinion, they could not be noticed. What I call the creeps have a way of pulling reality buttons and levers to keep getting away with the thousands of things they somehow pull off every year. No real world could do that. We'll never fully understand how the supernatural element here works, other than noticing that reality gets more fake and more fluid as one moves out in rings away from their own heart center reality bubble. The first grade truther points at the secret societies and believes men in smoking rooms are pulling this off to perfection and eating Subway sandwiches. That's ridiculous. They might be doing bad things, but it doesn't end there. There's simply one piece of the puzzle among tens of thousands. To point at one piece of the puzzle is ridiculous. There's a supernatural element here that even the creeps don't fully understand, and certainly don't at that little lower minion level. There is no Big Bang that spawned Monkey Man. Mind and consciousness came first, before matter, of course. I mean, this is a given. It's obvious at this point. Our adversary knows how to wield strange magic and technology to get what it wants. But again, I don't think they fully comprehend their own role at the minion level. At anybody on TV you can point at, they don't have a clue. It works in general to manipulate society and culture to create the reality it wants. Yes, this is a literal reality creation using us to do its bidding. It has used real spirits for as long as it's been here. The false breadcrumbs given to truth researchers have been a big part of that over the decades. Yes, we certainly have aided the creeps for many years. Most of our brethren of researchers still believe there's a final answer to explain each conspiracy, and they're still looking for it. One day it'll all be exposed, as if they put enough time and effort into the research. At least we might still be being used, but we're moving away from it. They're completely being used. These people are falsely looking for a win. Like there'll be some kumbaya moment when people will accept that the earth is splat or this. It's all part of the reality trick. That's why we never get a win. It's okay that we never get a win. That's why this place is designed the way it is. Again, rule of opposites. You don't look for a win or to figure it out. You do the opposite. As usual, the only winning move is not to play. Don't play at all. Stop your splat turf research. It's obvious at this point what we should be doing. It's not even open for debate anymore. Our truth research brethren don't understand that, in a way, they are helping to create the conspiracy breadcrumbs themselves as reality generation beings. And what is around us is a reflection in some way of ourselves. Even the Knottnilk, somehow, is the reflection of the collective consciousness. Well, how did they do that, Matt? How did they pull that off? How did they build it? How did they build that shit? How did they do this? What person is in the know? Why are there so many ruins buried under the mud? The pursuit of these things is exactly what it wants. It has given itself away as a perverted conspiracy generation machine, and at least a few of us, you and I hopefully, are no longer going to give it what it wants. Remember, the dark reality's role is to block you. If you chase this sort of bullshit, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. It's that simple. Then it has won. In this place, there is no answer to any of these yellow breadcrumbs. Searching for them or searching for a win is, once again, falling for its trick. The game here to most seems unfair. You and me and our little research group against all of society and culture, created to be a massive trick with its nuances refined over centuries by creeps with access to technology and dark magic. Oh, this isn't fair. Now it wields its new magic in the form of AI and other sick, perverted tech. That's right, it's not fair. It's all in our favor. Why? Because you have the power to win at any time in a single moment of realization or affirmation. Why? Because it can't exist without you. It needs you to exist for the most part. This reality likely can't exist without you. You can win at any moment. This relates to because I said so. Have you ever heard me say that? The Knottnilk has no say over whether... It has no say over whether it loses or wins. You have complete say over whether you win or lose, or whatever you need to do here. Imagine a card game where, with realization, you can simply take the cards you want and build your hand the way you want to. You can pick 4 aces. All it can do is tirelessly prop up its same old trick and put forth distractions so you never realize that you control the hand of cards, and it centers its trick around telling you that you must play the cards that it deals you. Humpty Dumpty. It means what I say it means. No Humpty Dumpty, you're a little schmuck on a wall. It means what I say it means, you little son of a beach. It cannot beat you directly. It can only fool you to beat yourself. The rules here dictate it must operate through deception. These are the rules. And those who have successfully succumbed to the Knottnilk, fallen for its trick, and died and, say, lost, then it was successful in hiding that person's own power from themselves. It's a master at demoralization and learned helplessness. It will convince you that you can do nothing here for yourself without its permission, an instruction manual. Modern science is the silver bullet of its ruse. One bookend is Einstein, the other bookend, Darwin. Reality lines up with the ruse of science because it was designed to. The scientific examination is correct, but what they are recording by way of experimentation is the trick itself. The scientists, through experiment, are simply recording the false breadcrumbs given to them by reality itself. The truth of this world is impossible to glean through, quote, measuring devices. And that doesn't even take into account the scientists have human senses that only allow him or her 1% of the data that's available, and that 1% then is skewed by the bias of the own individual. Oh yeah, Richard Feynman, you're a genius. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. No, if it agrees with experiment, Richard, it's the trick of this world, you jackass. Seeing the nature of the rigged game is only the first part in graduating. Our adversary is not concerned with those who pass part one, seeing through the trick. Let me repeat that. It's not concerned about those that point at everything and say everything's false, because it can keep them in its own pen. The first part is all for nothing without doing part two, the work. Once people wake up a little bit, say, this is false, that's false, this breaks down. Once people get to that level of realization, our adversary, the Knotlk, is an expert then at getting people stuck in part one, in that quicksand. It comes through the generation machine because it keeps feeding these people more bullshit to keep them distracted. It knows that some people will see the fraud of this world and start pointing at its trick. It's prepared for that. But then the Knotlk says, so what? If they see my trick. If I play these distraction cards correctly, these son-of-bitches won't do what they're supposed to do with their lives, and they'll continue to pursue my yellow breadcrumbs. So it offers more Tartaria, more aliens, more mud flood, Aleister Crowley, crop circles, pyramids, new theories about what happened to the Titanic, times a million. It hands out endless yellow breadcrumbs in its conspiracy generation machine. What's the only winning strategy? Go ahead. They know. Not to play. The second part of winning is far more important, actually doing the work that you came here to do that benefits the whole of you, or the spiritual part potentially that's not here. In this place, mind, body, and spirit have to work together. The Knotlk makes sure not only do they not work together, that one part is completely covered up and disappeared, like David Copperfield disappearing the Statue of Liberty. So they should have put a big soul up there, whatever was contained in that briefcase in Pulp Fiction. If the Knotlk can keep a real person stalled in the caterpillar phase until the day of its death, then it wins, and it's given its fish treats, its loosh, and its energy vampirism. It has convinced most people that the spiritual butterfly in them doesn't even exist, so there's nothing to even strive for. Just become an atheist or a scientist. What I'm referring to is not New Age ascendance nonsense or anything like that. In this place, we're meant to be low things. To these granola crunchers who talk about there's some sort of ascendance that's going to take place in this life, or they're going to fly up in the air or something as a being of light, I would ask them, when exactly should this transition into a being of light happen? When should I expect it? After I flush the toilet, or before I brush the onions out of my teeth? No, being low here is part of this unique experience. That part is not to be overcome, but instead, in a way, to be embraced. Now, there's limits to this. Don't rip gigantic farts into the elevator and then laugh as a crowd of people starts going, hey, I was meant to be low. No, don't take it too far. But for the most part, embrace the low. This is not a place to know God, but a place to forget that you were once so close. For those malcontents like you and me who sense there's something fundamentally wrong in the world and who begin a life of research, there's a critical juncture between the caterpillar and the butterfly stage. The Knotlk has become a master at customizing its attack against us at this very phase. As mentioned, the Knotlk offers endless conspiracy and fascinating topics of distraction, so the real you can never emerge from the chrysalis stage. Because the first principle of the Kybalion is actually true, because all is mind, the real spirit, like you and me doing this sort of research, is in some way assisting the conspiracy generation machine itself, bringing the distraction on themselves and helping actually to create it. Again, it cannot impede your way directly. It must always stand behind its trick. In spiritual matters, the trickster can't possibly be more powerful than the tricked. Here in this place, a real person must choose not to be the butterfly. A personal win in this regard, when achieved, is the true meaning of alchemy and the Holy Grail. You know that your efforts are bearing fruit when you see yourself changing into a being that your 25-year-old self would not recognize. Doing the work is when real people drop baggage and gather small wins in fostering a better spiritual whole for themselves. Dropping baggage has nothing to do with karma. The Knots-Noakes trick in regard to karma is to get people to believe that karma is something bigger than the person themselves, presenting something as, quote, real, and whatever karma is, and it's out there is real, that it needs to be overcome. See, it stands alone out there. Ridiculous. If that's believed, the person trying to best it or overcome karma has instead given life to it. Rule number 1 of the Kybalion: like all things, it does not exist without the heart-centered reality bubble bringing substance and form to it, first through attention. I'm not bowing down to the Kybalion. I've made fun of Hermedes Trice Great or whatever he is with his girlfriend many times. But if something's true, it's true. And that's true. As is, as above, so below, and some other parts of the Kybalion. I'll give it props where it deserves it. For me, the final step to, quote, winning is as simple as having the realization that this is not the place I want to be any longer. Going through the moment of death. Knowing I have done enough. A confidence. Did you do this? Did you do that? There's no metrics. A confidence. A frequency. I've done enough. And we're done. Why? Because I said so. I'll make sure this life serves its intended purpose, though, before I'm done. I'll make sure all parts of me know that when we're done with it, that we're done with it. The most important thing here is the understanding that everything important is up to us. A believer in karma, as talked about, is subservient to the concept itself. Simply see this reality exactly the way you want it to be, so it serves you. I believe that's the opposite of the victimhood it puts us in, right? I believe the minions like Melvin P. and the other role players here serve me. I believe that now. I believe what Brad Pitt said in the movie Troy. As hard as this life is, while we are here, the gods envy us in many ways. He said, not knowing when a moment will be your last makes the moments more beautiful if you see it that way, and it's up to you. There are emotions here, likely no other place in the universe can offer. Embrace both the good and the bad as they come, for this very reason that they can't be replicated anywhere else. Of course, per the movie line, there is no gods that envy us, in my opinion, sitting in some etheric room somewhere, envying us as they look down on us through Professor Marvel's crystal ball, Zeus sitting up there. No, that's not what it means. Those who may be envying us, like is said in the movie Troy, the gods envy us, are entities like us who are not having this experience at this particular time. Josh may disagree, and I understand why he disagrees, being in the condition that he's in, and no God would envy him, he would say, but that doesn't change the core principles behind what I'm saying. There's tremendous heaven here mixed in with the hell for most of us, but like I said earlier, we are first over the wall. In a way, we are taking one for the team. We are a small aspect of something greater. That aspect needs the pain as well as it, Tony stressed this, needs the pain as well as the joy, needs the horrible emotions as well as the good emotions. It needs both the bad and the good. Okay, we're taking one for the team. In a way, it is Apple TV's Severance, taking one for the team, the outie and the innie concept of potentially, as that show presents it, the asshole dickhead higher self, but we'll talk about that some other time. It's not as simple, potentially, as, oh, the higher self loves you, it loves you, it would never want to do anything bad. Tony says, no, if some bad shit happens to you, you're first over the wall. Your higher self will take that experience. Yeah, you suffering down here, but someday you're going to be one. I do believe this to a degree. If you don't believe a lot of what I just said, hey, we'll have differing opinions here, but I do know one thing for sure. the negative truth or attitude of
Your place is hell, and a prison planet, and we're stuck. Nobody would have signed up for this. This is just constant trauma and hell.
I know that attitude is incorrect and exactly what it wants. Keep putting it. Does that make any sense to the wise man or woman just to bitch?
Oh, it's hell.
I mean, that's such a loser's attitude. We know that now. As I alluded to earlier, I believe the ratio of the dream to the waking world will be basically the same relationship as the waking world now through the moment of death. To me, it's likely that simple. Death will be as easy as waking up in the morning from a dream. It'll all make sense. A dream in this reality may exist for this very purpose, to remind us or kind of show us of the relationship between one reality to the next, between life and what comes next. We don't need to know what will happen at death any more than your dream character needs to understand that a, quote, real self is sleeping in a bed. Does your dream character need to know that? No, then you don't need to know shit either. Just need to be confident that this isn't the end. There's no reason to fear death in any way. I don't need a religious, gigantic infrastructure with billions of dollars flowing around for these kinds of answers. No book is going to give me the worry about yourself activities that I need to do for the rest of my life. It's likely we get what we expect to get at death, or at least we can manifest certain things that are not so good, like karma, if we truly believe in them and give them our attention or energy, thereby exposing our main reason our power was hidden from us in the first place by this thing. If we don't get what we expect and we have no say, we don't have this power, then why is it trying to belittle us and demoralize us and learn helplessness? Why is it doing all this then if we don't have that power? It's the rule of opposites every single time. If you fear a hell, or you're planning for a recycling trap your entire life at the moment of death, and you just read over and over the Tibetan Book of the Dead, we'll make fun of that next week or the week after. If you do all that and you focus such powerful attention on it, then you just may have manifested that outcome on yourself to some degree. Is it really a stretch what I'm saying? If we focus it and give it that incredible energy, we know we have that energy because the not know, what does it do? It works endlessly to extract it from us. Even if it's a Taylor Swift concert and it's egregores bouncing around in the back behind the Taylor Swift concert going, you can dance if you want to, we can steal your energy too. It works constantly to take our energy. So if we're that powerful, you don't think we have a say-so on what we manifest? All right, I'm now off what I'm supposed to be reading. As above, so below exists as a Kabbalion truth for a reason. If there is some kind of a trick at death, whether that's a green room experience, not quite death, the astral, whatever it may be, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to focus on it. I've done the work here. I've seen through the trick here. I'll see through it there. As above, so below. So it's not that hard. The other side of the equation that we've talked about 1,000 times is such good news we have to keep talking about it. If it has me so securely at the moment of death hovering around me and I'm so screwed about its light or it's not light and its karma and its other traps, if it has me so securely, why is it working so hard now to influence what I believe? If it's working so hard every minute, every day down here, that's the below to shape my beliefs, then, and I don't fall for it, then I'm fine in the above, right? Clearly means that if it's focusing on me, that I'm the key ingredient in all this, and ultimately in control of what? Of everything. As I've said many times, if one day it decides to leave us alone, only that sort of behavior would actually concern me. If it keeps getting up in our business, that's actually the best news of all time. I see now that the word worry has to be removed from worry about yourself. Worry shouldn't be in there. There's no need to worry about anything. We'll stick with it. I'll keep with the worry about yourself because it's a tradition at this point. We have fun with it. But there's no reason to worry about anything at this point. I was simply borrowing a concept from a wise little girl. You've all seen the little video, little Rose. Hey, Rose, what do you want me to do? Help her with her seatbelt. What do you want me to do? Worry about yourself. Just that I took that concept from a wise little girl, and we'll continue with the word worry. But there's no reason to have that word. Taking away the word worry, though, leaves us just with yourself, doesn't it? Yourself and all that you are, no longer hidden from you. The Not Milk's trick, at least for a few of us, has failed. everything we've learned is the greatest news of all time. Thanks for listening.